My name is Audrey, and I never thought I'd be standing in a hospital corridor, my heart hammering so loud it drowned out the world, clutching my belly where my unborn daughter kicked, as if she knew we'd just escaped something unthinkable. That moment, with the sterile smell of antiseptic and the distant hum of nurses' voices, was the culmination of months of fear, betrayal, and a fight I never saw coming. But to understand how I got here, I need to take you back to where it all began. Back to the hope that once felt like everything, and the love that almost broke me. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, in a small house with creaky floors and a backyard that barely fit a swing set. My dad was a mechanic, hands always stained with grease, and my mom taught third grade, her evenings spent grading papers under a flickering kitchen light. They weren't rich, but they were steady, teaching me to keep going no matter how hard life got. And life did get hard. Before James, there was someone else, a man whose charm hid a cruel streak. He left me doubting myself, my worth, my future. When I met James, it was like stepping into sunlight after years in the dark. He was kind, with a boyish smile and a quiet strength that made me believe in love again. James and I met at a coffee shop in downtown Portland, where I'd spilled my latte all over his sketchbook. He was a graphic designer, sketching logos instead of chasing the corporate dreams his wealthy Seattle family expected. We laughed about the mess, and soon we were inseparable, spending weekends hiking in Forest Park or curled up with takeout in my tiny apartment. When he proposed under a canopy of stars at Mount Tabor, I said yes without hesitation, thinking we'd build a life free from the shadows of my past. But there was one shadow I couldn't ignore: Evelyn, James's mother. I'd only met her once, at our wedding, where her sharp eyes seemed to cut through me like glass. She was the matriarch of a Seattle real estate dynasty, widowed young and fiercely protective of the family name. James warned me she was particular, but I wasn't prepared for the weight of her expectations. A few months after our wedding, James announced we were invited to her Seattle mansion for dinner. My stomach twisted at the thought, but I wanted to make a good impression. Maybe, I thought, she'd see I was good enough for her son. That morning, I stood in front of my bedroom mirror in our Portland apartment, smoothing my dress for the 100th time. The navy fabric hugged my curves, modest but elegant, chosen to avoid Evelyn's scrutiny. My reflection showed a woman who'd fought to rebuild herself, but doubt crept in. Would she see the girl from a working-class family, unworthy of her son? "You look stunning," James called from downstairs, his voice warm. "Hurry up, or we'll be late." "Coming," I replied, forcing a smile. I grabbed my purse and headed down, my nerves buzzing like static. James pulled me into a quick kiss, his hand steady on my waist. "You're gonna knock her socks off," he said, his hazel eyes crinkling. I wanted to believe him, but the knot in my stomach tightened. The drive to Seattle was quiet, the evergreen-lined highways blurring past as I rehearsed small talk in my head. James squeezed my hand, sensing my tension. "She's intense, but she'll warm up to you," he promised. I nodded, but my gut told me otherwise. Evelyn's mansion loomed like something out of a movie, all Victorian spires and manicured lawns. A gleaming BMW sat in the driveway, a silent testament to her wealth. James parked, and I took a deep breath, plastering on a smile. "Ready?" he asked. "As I'll ever be," I said, my voice thinner than I'd hoped. Evelyn opened the door herself, her silver hair perfectly styled, a string of pearls glinting at her throat. "James, darling," she cooed, air-kissing his cheeks. Her gaze slid to me, and I swear the air chilled. "Audrey, how charming to see you again." "Thank you for having us," I said, willing my voice to stay steady. She ushered us inside, and I gaped at the opulent decor. Crystal chandeliers, mahogany furniture, and family portraits lining the walls, each face sterner than the last. It felt like stepping into a museum, not a home. "Dinner's nearly ready," Evelyn announced. "James, pour us some wine, won't you?" As he headed to the bar cart, Evelyn turned to me, her smile sharp as a blade. "So, Audrey, tell me about your family. What does your father do?" I swallowed hard. "He's a mechanic. My mom's a teacher." Her lips thinned. "How quaint. And you? Remind me what you do." "I'm a social worker," I said, lifting my chin. "I help families in crisis." She laughed, a brittle sound. Well, someone has to do it, I suppose. James returned with the wine, oblivious to the tension.
What are we talking about?
Just getting to know your lovely wife, Evelyn said, her smile not reaching her eyes. Did you know her father's a mechanic, James? Isn't that fascinating? I saw James flinch, but he covered it quickly. Audrey's family is amazing, Mom. You'd like them. Evelyn hummed, unconvinced. Shall we eat? Dinner was a gauntlet of veiled insults. Evelyn quizzed me on my education, my job, my plans for the future, each question laced with judgment. I answered politely, my patience fraying. Then, as dessert was served, she set down her fork with a clink. So, when can we expect grandchildren? James isn't getting any younger, you know. I choked on my wine, caught off guard. James cleared his throat. Mom, we've only been married a few months. There's time. Nonsense, Evelyn snapped. The family name needs to be carried on. You do want children, don't you, Audrey? The room felt too small, her gaze pinning me like a specimen. We haven't discussed it in detail, I managed. Well, you'd better get to it, she said sharply. A woman your age, fertility, doesn't last forever. Mom, James warned, but the damage was done. I stood, my chair scraping the floor. Excuse me, I muttered, fleeing to the bathroom. In the cold light of the mirror, I splashed water on my face, my hands trembling. What had I married into? James seemed so different, kind, supportive, but Evelyn's disdain made me question everything. Was this the life I'd signed up for? As I steadied my breathing, I knew one thing. I needed to talk to James, really talk about what our future held. Because if this dinner was a glimpse of it, I wasn't sure I could stay. The weeks after that disastrous dinner in Seattle were like walking on eggshells. James and I tiptoed around each other, the memory of Evelyn's sharp words lingering like a bad smell. I wanted to confront him about her overreach, but every time I tried, he'd change the subject or leave the room, claiming a work deadline. Our cozy Portland apartment, once a haven, felt like a pressure cooker, and I was starting to wonder if I'd misjudged the man I'd married. One Sunday afternoon, I was folding laundry in our bedroom, the scent of lavender detergent grounding me. James's phone buzzed on the nightstand, and I glanced over, not meaning to snoop. The name on the screen stopped me cold. Mom. Before I could look away, the message preview flashed. Have you talked to Audrey about kids yet? Time's ticking. My stomach dropped. I sat on the bed, a half-folded shirt forgotten in my lap, my hands shaking with a mix of anger and betrayal. James, I called, my voice sharper than I intended. He appeared in the doorway, his brow furrowed. What's wrong? He asked, then saw his phone in my hand. His face paled. Care to explain why your mother's texting you about our family plans? I held up the phone, my voice trembling. Because it looks like you two are making decisions about our life without me. He snatched the phone, scanning the message. Audrey, it's not what you think. Then what is it? I crossed my arms, my heart pounding. Because from where I'm standing, you're discussing our future with her behind my back. He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous tick I'd come to recognize. She's just concerned. She wants us to be happy. Happy? I laughed, the sound bitter. You think pressuring me to have a kid I'm not ready for will make me happy? His jaw tightened, and for the first time, I saw a flash of frustration in his eyes. And when will you be ready, Audrey? We're not getting any younger. Don't you want a family? His words hit like a punch. Of course I do, I said, my voice dropping to a whisper. But on our terms, not Evelyn's. Why are you even talking to her about this? She's family, he said, defensive. She has a right to know. No, she doesn't. I snapped, standing now. This is between you and me, James.
Or it should be.
We stared at each other, the air thick with unspoken words. Finally, he spoke, his voice low and hard. Maybe Mom's right. Maybe you're not cut out for this family after all. The words landed like a slap, stealing my breath. What's that supposed to mean? It means, he said slowly, I'm starting to wonder if I made a mistake marrying someone so different. The room spun. Everything I thought I knew about James, his kindness, his love, crumbled. Get out, I whispered, my voice shaking. When he didn't move, I grabbed a framed photo of our wedding day and threw it. It shattered against the wall as he ducked.
Get out.
He grabbed his keys, his face a mix of shock and anger. I'll stay at Mom's tonight. We'll talk tomorrow. As the door slammed, I sank to the floor, surrounded by broken glass. How had we gone from love to this? My phone buzzed and I saw a text from Evelyn. James told me what happened. You're making a mistake, dear. Come to Seattle tomorrow and we'll sort this out. Rage surged through me. No more playing nice. I typed back. Stay out of my marriage, Evelyn. This is your only warning. I hit send, my hands trembling. I'd just drawn a line in the sand, and I didn't know if I was ready for the fight ahead. But one thing was clear. I wasn't the scared girl I used to be. I'd fought to rebuild my life once, and I'd do it again if I had to. The next few weeks were a blur of tense silences. James returned home, but we were like strangers sharing a space. I threw myself into work, helping families in crisis while my own life felt like it was unraveling. Then, one morning, I woke up dizzy, my stomach churning. I barely made it to the bathroom before vomiting. As I leaned against the sink, a suspicion took root. I'd been exhausted lately, my emotions raw. Could it be? I bought a pregnancy test that afternoon, my hands shaking as I waited for the result. 2 pink lines stared back at me. I was pregnant. Joy and fear warred inside me. This should have been a moment of celebration, but with James's betrayal and Evelyn's meddling, it felt like a storm was brewing. I told James that evening, my voice steady despite my nerves. I'm pregnant. His face lit up for a moment, but then he hesitated, and I saw it. The shadow of Evelyn's influence. That's amazing, he said, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. We should tell Mom. No, I said firmly. This stays between us for now. He nodded, but I could tell he was already thinking of Seattle, of Evelyn's expectations. I went to bed that night with my hand on my belly, whispering to the life inside me. We'll figure this out, little one. I promise. The ultrasound appointment came on a crisp Portland morning, the kind where the air smells of pine and possibility. James and I sat in the waiting room of the women's clinic, the silence between us heavy. We hadn't spoken much since I'd confirmed the pregnancy, each of us tiptoeing around the fracture in our marriage. My hand rested on my barely there bump, a quiet promise to the life inside me that I'd protect her, no matter what. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, the technician called, her smile bright and oblivious to our tension. We followed her into a dimly lit room, and I settled onto the exam table, the paper crinkling beneath me. James stood by my side, hands shoved in his pockets, his face unreadable. Ready to see your baby? The technician asked, spreading cold gel on my stomach. I nodded, my throat tight. James's hand hovered near mine, but I didn't reach for it. Not yet. The screen flickered to life, and the rapid whoosh-whoosh of a heartbeat filled the room. Tears stung my eyes. That's our baby, I whispered, glancing at James. His gaze was fixed on the screen, his expression guarded. Everything looks perfect, the technician said, moving the wand. Would you like to know the gender? I felt James stiffen beside me. We hadn't discussed it, but I needed to know, to make this real. Yes, I said firmly. We'd like to know. She smiled, adjusting the image. Congratulations, you're having a girl. A girl. My daughter. A wave of love crashed over me, so fierce it stole my breath. But James's hand, which I'd reached for instinctively, went limp. I turned to him, and his face, disappointment, maybe even anger, chilled me to the bone. A girl, he repeated, his voice flat. The technician, sensing the shift, quickly wrapped up. As we left the clinic, the silence was deafening. In the car, I couldn't hold back. James, talk to me. What's going on? He gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. It's nothing. I guess I was hoping for a boy. Hoping? My voice rose, sharp with disbelief. This is our daughter, James. How can you be disappointed? He sighed, heavy and tired. You don't get it, Audrey. In my family, the firstborn's always been a son. It's tradition. It's what Mom expects. Expects? I echoed, fury rising. This isn't about Evelyn. This is our child, a living, breathing part of us. How dare you taint this with her outdated expectations? Audrey, you're overreacting. Stop the car, I said, my voice low but shaking. When he hesitated, I shouted, stop the car. He pulled over and I fumbled with my seatbelt, desperate for air. As I stumbled onto the sidewalk, James called after me, Audrey, where are you going? I whirled to face him, tears burning my eyes. How dare you make our daughter feel like less than before she's even born? If you can't see how precious she is, maybe we're the mistake. Audrey, you don't mean that, he said, stepping toward me. I need time, I said, backing away. I can't be around you right now. I walked away, my hand on my belly, ignoring his calls. I took a bus to my parents' house in Portland suburbs, my mom's worried face greeting me as I collapsed into her arms. What happened, honey? She asked, stroking my hair. Through tears, I told her about James's disappointment, Evelyn's shadow over our lives. My dad paced, muttering about teaching that boy a lesson, but I just needed space to think. That night, my phone buzzed with a text from Evelyn, a girl? Disappointing, but we can discuss options. Call me. My blood ran cold. Options? The word felt like a threat. I stayed with my parents for days, ignoring James's calls. My mom hovered, bringing me tea, while my dad offered to have a word with James. But I needed to figure out my next move. Evelyn's text haunted me, a reminder that her influence wasn't just emotional, it was dangerous. I couldn't let her poison my daughter's future. One evening, my mom sat beside me, her voice gentle. Remember Daniel Hawkins? He's a lawyer now, specializes in family law. Maybe he could help. Daniel. The name brought back memories of a lanky kid who'd shared his lunch with me in middle school when I forgot mine. He'd always been steady, kind. Call him, I said, a flicker of hope cutting through my fear. Daniel arrived the next day, his familiar face now lined with experience. Audrey, he said, his voice warm but serious. I'm so sorry you're going through this. Tell me everything. As I recounted the dinner, James's betrayal, and Evelyn's ominous texts, Daniel listened, his jaw tightening.
We need to move fast, he said.
Evelyn's family has connections. We'll file for a restraining order and start divorce proceedings if that's what you want. I nodded, my hand on my belly. I want to protect my daughter, whatever it takes. The morning of the confrontation with Evelyn felt like stepping into a storm. I'd agreed to let her visit our Portland apartment, against Daniel's advice, hoping to set boundaries once and for all. But as I stood in our living room, my hand resting protectively on my growing bump, I felt a mix of dread and resolve. This wasn't just about me anymore, it was about my daughter. James was pacing, his face pale. Audrey, are you sure about this? Maybe we can talk to her calmly. Calmly? I snapped, my patience thin. She suggested options for our daughter, James. She's not here to talk. She's here to control. Before he could respond, the doorbell rang. Evelyn swept in without waiting for an invitation, her designer coat billowing, her eyes locking onto me with a predator's focus. Audrey, she said, her voice dripping with false warmth. I hear congratulations are in order. Though a girl, such a shame. James tensed beside me, but to my surprise, he spoke up.
Mom, please.
This is our child. Evelyn waved him off, her gaze never leaving me. Don't be naive, James. A girl can't carry on the family name properly. You know what needs to be done. The room went silent, her words hanging like a guillotine. What are you saying, Evelyn? I asked, my voice steady despite the bile rising in my throat. She stepped closer, lowering her voice to a chilling whisper. There are clinics, Audrey. Discreet ones. No one would have to know. I recoiled, my heart pounding. You're talking about my daughter. Your granddaughter. Granddaughter? She spat, the word venomous. What use is that to our legacy? Better to start over. Try for a proper heir. I turned to James, desperate for his support, but his face was a mask of conflict. James, I whispered, pleading, say something. He opened his mouth, then closed it, his eyes darting between me and Evelyn. Maybe we should consider all options, Audrey. The world tilted. My husband, the man I'd loved, was standing there, entertaining this madness. Get out, I said, my voice barely audible. When neither moved, I screamed, get out. Both of you. Evelyn smirked, triumphant. Now, dear, let's not be hasty.
Out.
I grabbed my purse, my hand shaking. If they wouldn't leave, I would. I stormed toward the door, but Evelyn's hand shot out, holding something that glinted in the light. A syringe. My blood ran cold. Audrey, wait. James started, but I was already moving, shoving past Evelyn, my only thought to protect my daughter. I stumbled into the street, my breath ragged, and called Daniel. She had a syringe, I gasped. I need help.
Now.
Daniel was there in minutes, his car screeching to a halt. Get in, he said, his face grim. As we sped toward my parents' house, he called the police, reporting a potential threat. We're filing for an emergency restraining order, he said. This ends today. At my parents' house, my mom wrapped me in a blanket, her face pale with worry. My dad was on the phone, demanding answers from the police. Daniel sat with me, going over legal documents. We've got enough for a restraining order against Evelyn and James, he said. But we need to move fast. They'll try to spin this. I nodded, feeling a strange calm. I want a divorce, Daniel. I can't live like this. He squeezed my hand. We'll make it happen. You're not alone. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a text from James. Please, Audrey, don't do this. We can work it out for our family. I showed Daniel, my heart twisting despite my resolve.
I need to see him, I said.
One last time. To know for sure. Daniel frowned. It's risky, Audrey. But if you're sure, we do it my way, public place, witnesses. We chose a busy cafe in downtown Portland, a place James and I had loved in happier times. As I walked in, flanked by Daniel and my dad, I saw James pacing by our old favorite table. He looked haggard, his eyes red. Audrey, he breathed, reaching for me. Please, let's talk. Before I could respond, the cafe door burst open. Evelyn stormed in, her face twisted with rage. You ungrateful little, she screeched, lunging toward me. Daniel stepped in front, his voice booming. Back off, Evelyn, or I'll have you arrested for assault. The cafe went silent, all eyes on us. Evelyn froze, her finger pointing at me. You'll regret this, Audrey. You, and that mistake you're carrying. I stepped forward, my voice steady. Listen carefully, Evelyn. I don't want your money or your name. I want you to stay away from me and my daughter. Forever. I turned to James, my heart breaking. And you, James. I loved you. I thought we had a future. But you'll never stand up to her. My daughter deserves better. I deserve better. James's face crumpled. Audrey, I can change. No, I cut him off, my resolve ironclad. We're done. Daniel stepped forward, holding a folder. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, I have divorce papers and a restraining order. Sign them now, or we'll take this to court, and your family's behavior will be public record. Evelyn sputtered, her face red. You can't do this. But James, to my shock, seemed to collapse inward. He looked at me, then at Evelyn, and something shifted in his eyes. Understanding, maybe, or defeat. Enough, Mom, he said quietly. It's over. With shaking hands, he took the papers and signed. Evelyn wailed, but James silenced her with a look. We've lost, Mom. Let it go. As they left the cafe, James paused, looking back. I'm sorry, Audrey. I hope you find happiness. And then they were gone. The tension in the room dissolved, leaving me drained but lighter, like a weight had lifted. Daniel touched my shoulder, his eyes warm with concern. You okay? I nodded, my hand on my belly, feeling a soft kick. We're okay. Both of us. We left the cafe, my parents and Daniel forming a protective circle around me. The Portland sun was warm, a promise of new beginnings. As we walked, I felt my daughter move again, and I laughed, a sound of pure relief. What is it? Daniel asked, smiling. Just thinking about the future, I said. Our future. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. Daniel filed the restraining order, ensuring Evelyn and James couldn't come near me or my daughter. The divorce went through smoothly, thanks to Daniel's expertise. I moved into a small apartment in Portland's Pearl District, decorating a nursery with soft yellows and greens, a space for my daughter to grow. My parents were my rock, my mom helping me shop for baby clothes, my dad assembling the crib with a gruff pride. Daniel checked in often, his quiet strength a constant reassurance. One evening, as we went over final paperwork, he looked at me, his voice soft. "You were incredible, Audrey. Your daughter's lucky to have you." I smiled, tears pricking my eyes. "Thank you, Daniel. I couldn't have done this without you." He shook his head. "You're stronger than you know. You would have found a way." As my due date approached, I felt a growing excitement. The fear and pain of the past months faded, replaced by hope. I'd fought for my daughter, for myself, and I'd won. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, single motherhood, a new career chapter. But I was ready. One sunny afternoon, I sat in my nursery, rocking in the chair my mom had bought, my hand on my belly. "We're gonna be okay, little one," I whispered. "You and me, we're unstoppable." To everyone who's followed my story, thank you. Your support, your empathy, your time, it means the world. This journey was about more than surviving. It was about finding my strength, my voice, and the fierce love I have for my daughter. I hope my story inspires you to fight for what matters, to stand up for yourself and those you love, no matter the odds. Here's to new beginnings, to courage, and to the future we build together.